Here. Hi everybody. Thanks for coming along today. We're going to chat about migrating UI at scale, the fun stuff. Um, Delighted to be here. Thanks for popping along. I'm going to first of all, let's get this moving here. So we're going to be chatting today about my story around how we've brought our plan to bring over 100,000 daily active users from a legacy native desktop app to a modern web technology platform. So lots of good stuff here, good learnings for you. Seen this tweet the other day, thought I would insert CTO. Let me read it out. You're not a real CTO unless you have traumatic flashbacks every time somebody uses the word migration in any context. And I hope that resonates with a lot of folks here. A little bit about Forest. You need to be able to understand this to understand the story. Our mission, we're Hair Beauty Software. We power salon software to help salons to run, grow, operate, and really achieve their potential. So you need to understand what we do to be able to understand this migration. Started off over 18 years ago with this beautiful Delphi application, the world's first salon software. I will claim that is our story, and we're going to stick to it. Over 18 years ago, did SMS, and was quite innovative at the time, I would say. That's not what the product looks like now. About 14 years ago, we migrated to cloud, so moved from on-premise to cloud, and built at that time Java Swing application, which we really pushed the boundaries to what it could do. And at that time, web technology actually wasn't where it needed to be if you think about, like, we run in brick and mortar businesses with terrible Wi-Fi, slow machines, and over a decade ago, the hardware might not have been that good in those types of establishments. So it's a native Windows and Mac app. And as I said, we really pushed the boundaries and this is a very busy appointment screen with lots of stylists in it. And that's what it looks like. And we have over 10,000 salons on the platform. And as I mentioned, 100,000 daily active users. And those users have muscle memory that they can literally move appointments and make bookings with their eyes closed. They use it so much. It's literally the heart of the business. So, as you can imagine, as technologists and as a company that wants to innovate, this isn't really the platform you want to really to kick on and to grow. And it was holding us back from a lot of opportunities that we had. So our technical vision had to really evolve and take shape around powering that experience through modern, easy to use web technologies. And for us, that meant from a company and customer perspective, we could move away from high touch onboarding, product friction, and just not being able to use modern tools in the product. You can think about it like you can't drop a JavaScript widget on top of that Swing application to be able to maybe have a Walk Me or Pendo or an intercom pop up. No, none of that is possible. So we want to be in a place where people can easily log in, go live without much friction, maybe self serve. For us to be able to go into new markets a bit easier, and for us to ship fast and often, because we do. It's really part of our DNA in Forest, and like really archaic desktop application just doesn't allow us to do that. So that's where we want to go to. From an engineering perspective, the TLDR here is we want engineers to spend most of their time solving customer problems and adding business value and not dealing with toil. That is a native application that's very, very old, hard to onboard folks into. People don't really want to work on it. They want to be working on the latest and greatest, and we want to as well. We want to be moving fast and innovating. So that's how it looks like from an engineering perspective. And for us, we really wanted something modern, easy to use, fast, really cool, sexy product. There were so many unknowns around that, and like I was saying, like those customers love what was there, and they're not really asking for a new appointment screen or a web technology. They kind of like what they have. We really wanted this and do want it. So lots of unknown unknowns around this. How do we get everybody off this app? And what are the things we need to think about? Do we need to consider starting from scratch? Do we need to consider Losing some customers, what does that mean for us if we do on the way? Like there's so many permutations here. So tons of uncertainty. How do we authenticate in a modern web app? What UI patterns do we use? The data, the API that the old app uses is archaic. How do we make it easier to work with? There's lots of logic in the old client. What the hell do we do there? How do we solve for a single salon or salon that has multiple salons under their umbrella? How do we build all these features that have been there for 20 years in web and get them all across, and more and more and more? And there's so much to it. How do we build an appointment screen that doesn't collapse a browser? So much to it. And what I'm going to talk about today is our learnings along the way. The things that we really learned, the pain we felt, the setbacks, and how they kind of led us to certainty or a more clear path and execution. So these are the learnings along the way. We have a few of them. The first one will be speed is life. If the application we build, and it was at the start, was slower, users just went back to the older application. Like why would they go to a slower application? Why would they use it? We had to set the baseline for our new app to be the same, if not faster, than the older one. We also have to make sure it's the same data. We had to make sure that people could trust it, and the second you lose that first impression when it's slower to actually render, you lose their trust. They're not going to adopt it. So we had to introduce things around continuous testing to make sure, as we change the UI, as we change the backend, that we were able to catch these types of things. We're in a lovely place at the moment where it takes 45 seconds for the old app to boot up, and in some cases it actually takes a long time on older PCs versus like a couple of seconds for the web app to boot and render. So we're really happy about that, but it was a big learning for us. And it's pretty obvious, but we had to benchmark against our best, our most common, and maybe some of our biggest salons to make sure we were getting that right. So that's the first learning for us. The second learning was about usability and resistance to change. So we thought that we could just build a really nice looking, cool app and everyone would just use it. And that was kind of our starting point. What we ended up doing was we kind of built the first cut, knowing that we would have to change things, but we didn't really realize how much we would have to change some of our assumptions around that. So we went on a bit of a Tiger Squad mission to go visit as many clients as possible in a short amount of time to really validate that feedback. You can see some designers smacking themselves in the face there with how obvious things that they missed from not really sitting in the salon and understanding the change or the impact of even moving a button a few pixels makes. We had really nice slide outs and a much more modern Tailwind UI around it, and they didn't want this. Like, they just told us, just go away. We don't want to change that. So we had to go back to the drawing board and look at the appointment screen on the right was kind of where we had started, and we had to kind of bring it back to looking like the older system. And that really hurt the engineers and maybe some of the designers who really wanted to be on the bleeding edge. And that took a lot of work actually to really help people understand that, we can build this amazing app and it can be beautiful, but if nobody's using it, there's no point to any of it. And we had to really get a lot of buy-in and show true adoption and usage that this was the right path. So modern UI versus swingification, we call it. Java Swing is the old app, and that's what we call it. So it was a second learning and a hard one, I would say. Swing one in that case, the design. So a migration pattern. So we thought that we would just be able to send people a link to the new app and they would use it. And not a chance in hell. A busy salon, there's no way they're going out of their comfort zone to test and validate a new product or log in or anything like that. So we had to build a migration pattern in the current product that would allow us to validate our new app in situ where they were. So this is what they were using, and we, through feature flagging and some embedding, we actually show them the new app, and we give them an escape hatch where they can go back to the old one if they want, but they have to leave us some feedback as to why they're going back there. Again, Lots of work to make this single sign-on work, to be able to embed, and lots of, I guess, pain as well with in terms of getting buy-in from the team to be able to do this, because you can imagine they all don't like this old app. They don't want to work in it, and they want to be in the future. And they felt like it was a step back embedding. But again, it comes back to, if the customers aren't going to use it, what's the point in doing all this great work? The other learning was around carrots, and I won't go into too much detail around these features explicitly, but we added new features to the new app to bring people across and make them really want to use it, the things that they've been asking for many years. And that was something that really it was the carrot basically to bring them across, and it really worked for us in terms of getting that early buy-in and trust around the new application, particularly when it was in situ in the older product, when they were very comfortable with actually the environment. So these carrots really help. So waitlist, we had this on our user voice for 8 years. Please improve the waitlisting for us. So we did, but only in the new app. So you have to come to the new app and use that if you want to use it. Appointment builder as well is a really quick way to find slots. And again, this is something we only built in the newer version of Forest. Same with consultation forms, so people can see who's due a consultation that day and they can fill it out. So all these carrots drew people to the new app. It was a great learning for us in terms of the things, listening to feedback and addressing them rather than just copying everything like for like. Again, another one, rebooking from history. So there's some principles and learnings from these, but before I tell you them, just a little story, okay? So this is the Indiana Bell building. And in 1930 in Indianapolis, the Bell Telephone Company bought the Central Union Telephone Building, and they had plans to demolish it and create a much bigger headquarters. But an architect called Ken Van Goot had other plans, and he suggested, instead of demolishing it, move the building and make room for the expansion. So, surprisingly, his plan was actually approved and it was successful. So his team actually moved an 8-story, 11,000-ton building 52 feet south, rotated it 90 degrees, and then moved it another 100 feet down west to face downtown. This is insane, okay? They did this in 30 days, and workmen used concrete mat cushions with timber and hydraulic jacks to roll the building. As they moved one roller from another, workers moved the roller head, and every 6 strokes of a jack, they moved the building 3/8 of an inch. So every hour, the building moved 15 inches. During the move, the building functioned as normal. So everything except for the basement worked. And safety stops were put in place to stop people obviously trying to go down to the basement because it wasn't there. And each of the 500 long telephone circuits were monitored and maintained to provide uninterrupted use to customers. The gas, the electric, the water, the sewers, the steam pipes, everything worked. They served the building as it actually functioned during the whole move. Okay, let that sink in for a second. So 600 workers used that building every day during the move. They used a sheltered passageway to get into the building, and employees never even felt it moving. The whole telephone service went uninterrupted, and it only took 30 days. This is insane. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's true, okay? So while I read that and I think about the challenge that we have around our user interface and what we need to do, there's so many similarities, okay? Both had a business problem, scalability. They knew that they couldn't scale and grow at the pace they wanted. And for us, bringing the entire system to web is a massive thing, but we can't risk closing the shops. We can't run out of business. We can't close things down and risk that in the interest of making the product better. So the Bell Company had a bigger problem, let's be honest. In the 1930s, they had no big machinery to help, incredibly tight timeline. It was never attempted before, and you could literally cause a collapse and really harm people. So a lot of risk there. And we have risks too. We could undoubtedly cause a level of disruption to our customers. We have to stop and build the core product again. So we're actually letting competition potentially catch up with us. We have to match and improve 15 years worth of product that's been around. We have to rebuild. We have to fix the hacks. We have to check why this thing was written by a random person a long time ago. All of these things need to be retaught, and that's a risk to us. In the meantime, we actually have to maintain this older product and get the new one out, make everyone love it. 10,000 salons, hundreds of thousands of people until we make it obsolete. So there's a lot of relevance here with these two things. And for us, it comes back to principles. So, what are the principles and guidance we can give people to steer them in the right direction as we make these changes and we make these big jumps forward? And how do we bring people with us along that journey? So, our first one is called Evolution of a Revolution. So, evolving constantly the product, building it with the salons, making sure they're familiar with it, that we have solid plans in place, that we prove patterns out and we don't scare the hell out of people, minimize disruption for them and for our internal folks as well. So, we need to make sure that as we change these areas, that people feel like they're bought into it, that they understand why we're making it better, that it's robustly tested together. And you can think of everything involved in changing these key areas. We have training, CS, grow, support. Everybody needs to be bought in and involved in it. And yes, that is a product owner's head in that picture. It's a bit disgusting as I look back at it. So sorry about that. But yeah, we have to really keep our colleagues in mind and our customers when we do this. So our second principle is encourage small wins. So as we build trust with our customers and our staff and everybody, we want to make sure that we're constantly making little improvements, making things better as we go. You've seen those carrots along the way, those little improvements and removing those frustrations really keep the momentum going and keep everyone bought in. So it's meant, like I said, a shared understanding of what good looks like, shared understanding of how to make decisions and move forward together. It actually allowed us to put our customers first and company ahead of the technology, because the risk around these projects is you just go too far on the technology side and you end up forgetting and losing what's most important, and bringing the customers with you. So where we are today with it is lots of customers on the web platform, maybe 20, 30 actively using it every day. We still have a lot to go to hit the 10,000, but what we have is confidence in the approach. We have battle tested patterns that we know will work, and it's about execution, working with them and bringing people with us along the way. So yeah, it's only a lightning talk, so I'm not going to stay too much longer. My email is there, john@forest.com, and nothingventure.rocks is our blog. There's some cool blogs about this type of stuff. If you ever want to chat to me, please reach out. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the talk. Thanks very much.